Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gabriel Chapman. I'm a consulting systems engineer with Cisco Systems based out of the United States. I'm here at Barcelona VMworld 2014 to basically talk about a bunch of different products and how they could be cohesively moved and worked together to possibly create some kind of solution that you could use in your data center. So many props to the vBrownBag crew for having Cisco come on board here and talk about some stuff. This is titled, I failed to think of a creative title. Really, I just could not think of what I really wanted to call this presentation, so I'm really going to basically ramble on about a few different products that we have today that I think have some certain potential and really kind of how Cisco might look to address, or Cisco customers might be able to address, different use cases inside their organizations, right? So, just a little bit about me. Like I said, I work for Cisco. I've been working in the IT industry for roughly 18 years. My primary background is storage and virtualization. I used to work for a company called SimpliVity, which works in the hyper-converged space, and prior to that I worked at a company called Emulex, where I did converged infrastructure networks, so storage and network convergence, and then hyper-convergence, which I collapsed a huge stack of technology down into an appliance, and now I'm working for an organization that has a very large and broad product portfolio that can address a lot of different use cases inside the data center. So you can stalk me on Twitter at Bacon is King. I run my own personal blog, GabrielChapman.com, and there's my email. If you ever have a question about any Cisco technologies, feel free to shoot me a note. So, complex problems require complex answers in many cases. As much as we may want to simplify the IT data center as much as possible, we're always going to have specific use cases that require a little more diversity in the product offering. I've always been a big proponent of the hyper-converged technologies, but they don't always necessarily fit all the different use cases that a customer have. This is a picture of what the Affordable Care Act workflow chart looks like. I guarantee you there's several customers out there today who have IT solutions that look exactly like this kind of flow chart, right? So complexity rules the day. We have to address that complexity, and sometimes, like I said, those answers can be complex themselves. We talk about data explosion. When I first started working with technology or working with computers, I think my first PC had a 209 megabyte hard drive running Windows 3.1. I was very good at managing that 209 megabytes of space down to the individual KBs free that I needed to be able to boot Windows. Today, we don't give a second thought of having a terabyte worth of just junk sitting on our computer. And that's probably the case for pretty much everybody out there, and it's especially the case for a lot of data organizations where their unstructured data is growing at massive proportions. And we're talking 100x every 10 years. So my 209 megabyte hard drive ends up being a 209 terabyte hard drive based on just a few years worth of growth. And that's really been the case, right? The need for scalability doesn't just affect companies like Google, Facebook, or Twitter. Those are the big ones, those are the true web scale giants that are working in this space today. But even the standard, smaller organization has scalability challenges around how they can scale the workloads, scale their infrastructure, and keep up with the demand generated by A, all that data, B, all of the different use cases and applications that they're deploying on a daily basis. Data center, in our view, or at least my view too, is in transition. This is a shot of the this is Group Hub. This is the open compute project that Google and some others are working on and Facebook around transition of the data center into a more plug-and-play type of unit with a lot more flexibility. Interestingly enough, we're going to start to see more and more solutions like this, or technologies that are derived to address this particular space. You see it with companies like HP and their Moonshot product, but you also see it with Cisco and their M-Series technology, where it's a disaggregation of some of these compute, storage, and memory resources into a rack-based solution. But meeting that transition, I think one of the things that I would like to build at Cisco, or like to deploy, is kind of a more converged infrastructure stack, or what I would call the Cisco rack, Cisco-based rack solution. So, obviously Cisco's known for networking, they're known for compute, and now they're starting to make their way into the storage arena. And I work specifically with the solid state storage group, and I work with products like UCS Invicta, which is an all-flash solid state array, and I also work with a product called 3160, we call it Calusa, the code name. That's a large density storage array, storage system or storage server that you can run various different operating systems on and address your large unstructured data needs. So I'm going to talk about these three systems as like a converged infrastructure block that you can leverage today in your data center. There's not a SKU for this. I can't just go out and order, Gabe's technology stack, but you can talk to your local Cisco representatives about looking into these solutions. So what's that Cisco rack look like? The Cisco-based stack is essentially going to be the Nexus line of switches. You're going to be looking at the Cisco UCS Compute either in rack or blade-based form factor, the Cisco Dense Storage System, which I say the C3160, and then the Cisco Flash Arrays, which is UCS Invicta, which comes in an appliance format as well as a scaling system, right? So when we talk about flash memory, there's a lot of different flash memory vendors out there, flash storage vendors out there today. Cisco-specific messaging around flash, though, is application-based acceleration, right? We're looking to take flash memory and accelerate the response and the performance of specific applications in the data center. So we don't really position flash array, we don't really position the Invicta technology as general purpose flash storage. It's more attuned to specific workloads, primarily on OLTP, databases, anything that really needs a lot of oomph for performance, and specifically around write. So, like I said, response time matters for customers. So if I can have a query that takes place, that used to take place maybe for 24 hours, if I can get that query down to 24 minutes, then obviously my company is much more agile in the fact that I can actually make smarter, quicker decisions in more in a real-time fashion. And that's what we're kind of looking like. As we get closer and closer to the CPU and the compute space for our responses that we need to give back when it comes to storage, that's what we're looking for, and that's what flash acceleration does. So today we have the Invicta scaling system as just one of those products where it's a solution that separates the role. So we can do fiber channel and iSCSI in the appliance today. At some point in the future, we'll be looking to do NFS as well. And we have two components to that. One is an SSR, which is a storage router, essentially, and the other portion is a storage node. And you can take multiple routers and connect them to multiple nodes and scale that out. Today, that goes to roughly 144 terabytes. At some point, we're going to get into about a 384 terabyte space because we can do different levels of deduplication. So I can take one of those storage nodes and just make it a deduplication node, and I can take one of those and just have it be a pure flash acceleration node. So you have a little bit of flexibility around what you can do inside that flash storage space. So you're not only, because some organizations, they don't want to turn on dedupe, they don't want to turn on compression, they have databases that have the technology already built into there. So this really kind of gives you the best of both worlds. I can basically kind of mix and match how I want to provision that storage out there. This system is actually very, very fast. It does about 250,000 IOPS in the form factor it is. And interestingly enough, we actually can get parity on our write and read IOPS by the way we manage flash within the system. So we have a special operating system called the Race Runner that basically allows you to match up the blocks as they are written to the flash pages in the size that they need to be in, so that makes them more efficient for writing. That's why we can do really fast writes. When we look how we're moving the flash memory or the flash technology into the UCS architecture, it starts with the Invicta operating system and the different management portions that we can put into that system. And then we have different options here. We have an appliance, which is a simple 2U flash solution that can just go up to 24 terabytes of raw usable storage. If you turn dedupe on, obviously that can go up and your numbers may vary, but also we can do this in the appliance model as well as in the scaling system solution. So you have different options, like I said. If you just have a point solution, maybe you want flash at the top of the rack for high performance, I can put that system in there. If I want a larger, broader depth or a larger amount of flash storage, I can use the actual scaling system itself. The 3160 rack server is designed for large unstructured data repositories, and here's something I challenge, or I've struggled with certain customers and certain organizations with the need for large image repositories or large data repositories in a virtualized environment. We have a hard time sometimes being able to craft a solution that can actually address that. And what you're looking at here is 240 terabytes in 4U. That's a lot. That's 60 hard drives running in that system. And also on the back is a server that goes connect that. So I could run something like an Exenta, I could run Ceph, I could run Red Hat storage server, I could run standard VMware hypervisor and have a massive pool of data to write to. So for those customers out there who want to hit that 64 terabyte limit for their data storage, you can do several of those on this solution. It's interesting enough. It's going to be, like I said, this is actually a server. It's not a storage array. At some point in the future, we'll have dual server storage in there, so we have high availability in there. So for, like I said, then you'll be able to go even larger. But like I said, 60 disks inside there. Interestingly enough, also the form factor is such that we made this nice and short. It can fit in a standard 19-inch rack. We don't need the extra long racks that some of the other solutions in this marketplace need today because they're trying to get 60 or 70 disks inside there. We can actually, it's only like I said, it's about 30 inches long. So, very dense, built on this ability to basically be modular in its effect. So different use cases for this particular family today, and I know we're at a VMware conference, but we're starting to see a bigger message and cohesiveness between VMware and things like OpenStack, right? So for their Ceph repository or Swift inside an OpenStack environment, this would be a really great solution for them to basically keep the vast bulk of the data that goes into that particular aspect. Also for media and streaming providers, I'm going to go, hopefully I can go talk to the guys at Netflix. I mean, they have a huge ton of data out there, and they want to get a very compact footprint because, when you're looking at that kind of scalability as a company, space actually matters. We get into some organizations that do have calculations and do make some of their data center purchases based on the number of rack units and the density in which they're approaching when they go into a solution that they're going to provide. Obviously, hey, when I first started deploying Exchange 5, you had a 20 megabyte mailbox limit. Today, people want 200 gigabytes of mail, and people never delete anything, and we have all these issues and challenges around that. Large Exchange environments that want a lot of dense storage inside the actual Exchange server itself with 240 terabytes local to it is, there's a great solution in there for email archival even. So, and obviously big data. Big data is going to continue to get bigger. Jokes on me. But with the unstructured data and things like Hadoop and some of the other solutions that are out there today, you're obviously looking for a big repository to store things while you do a lot of the analytics in the compute space. So, but like I said, modular architecture, the way we've designed this is it's still orderable in different flexible formats, so it's going to have different CPU choices. You can go up to 256 gigabit of memory in there. It's going to have a 4 gigabit of cache. So it's actually a pretty interesting solution. Like I said, everything's hot swappable in here. You open the case up, you can pop a disk out, pop a disk back in. It basically comes orderable in 14 disk chunks. So the very first purchase you can get 14 disks, and you can scale that all the way out to the full complement of 60. But like I said, it's still a approach that Cisco is taking to a modularization of the server infrastructure, and we start to see that with a lot of the next generation Cisco UCS products. So putting it all together though, like I said, we're looking at a rack of technology here where we have multiple products with one management structure. Obviously UCS Manager and UCS Director are two great solutions that Cisco provides to allow you to kind of have that cohesive single pane of glass management console, all the way from the provisioning aspect with the integration points. At some point, these products will all be managed and integrated together through UCS Manager and addressable based on the API solutions that Cisco can provide in UCS Director. So we want to do a software approach to that type of management and for the customer, because I think that we start to look at where the landscape is going. The more things you can automate through APIs and more things you can leverage in that fashion, the better and more flexible and more agile your organization's going to end up being. So for a product that doesn't exist, but a lot of different pieces that we can actually put together to create a probably pretty convincing and pretty interesting solution that's going to be out there today. So I thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Once again, my name is Gabriel Chapman. I'm with Cisco Systems.